What's up, YouTube? Drill Sergeant here. And you see who I have with me, friend of the show, longtime friend of the show, and my personal friend, Aiden Swallow from the, I don't even know what district it is anymore. Did they change it up yet? Because they have moved everybody. 5th District, 6th District, 7th District. Are you still of the 5th District?
No. So I used to be 6th Congressional District, but I'm 19, Legislative District 19.
Legislative District 19. And you had to change. If you guys don't know, this is Arizona. You were headed to be 6th Congressional District. And who was that gonna replace?
I was going to replace, hopefully, Juan Ciscomani.
And why did you decide to change?
I decided to change because I felt like, so I had asked my question, did I want a deeper impact or a broader impact? And really the answer is that the only reason I got into politics was because I wanted to actually make a difference and make an impact for my community. And so I felt like going for the congressional race was not the right call, and instead I wanted to be more personal and go with the legislative district instead, which is smaller, same area, but smaller and more intimate.
And it really seems like this might just have been the right move. When you first told it to me, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds just about right. So, how's it been going since you decided to change?
Yeah, I mean, things have been a little crazy because we're not even in the political season yet. So everything that I'm doing is, quote unquote, early. As like a lot of people kind of see it because they don't even look at politics for a while. So it's been a little bit crazy. I'll get like it's certainly ramped up. Like I'm starting to get more endorsements and being part of different organizations as we get closer to the end of the year. But also it's just been kind of nice because I've just been going out to more events and sometimes not political. Like I still have a lot of theater stuff that I do. And so sometimes it's not political, but I still end up like impacting the community. So it's been an interesting kind of development since the last time we talked. It's been a while actually since the last time we talked. So yeah, it's been interesting, I think is the best word for it.
Okay. So you've already gotten some endorsements, and my guess is that you were building a name already, doing what you were doing before for the congressional district. Does it seem like there's more recognition? Is there more people know who Aiden is?
Yeah, the congressional district certainly helped, like running for the congressional candidacy certainly helped because I was able to make some connections with some of the other Democratic parties that I maybe wouldn't have been able to make those connections with had I just started in the legislative district. It only exploded after I changed to a legislative candidate because before people were questioning it because, I'm jumping into politics. I don't know a bunch of rich people, which is kind of what's needed for a congressional candidacy. And but then jumping into legislative, you don't need those connections necessarily. So a lot of people who were questioning started to jump on board. And really it comes down to a lot of people are just holding on and waiting for me to get that confirmation that I'm on the ballot. Once I get the signatures, I've already had multiple Democratic agencies that are going to jump on board once I actually get the petition signatures done.
Oh, really?
Which is the biggest hurdle that I have to cross, in my opinion.
The petition signatures, why is that?
Well, so a lot of people don't realize it because if you're not involved in politics, you don't really know that in order to even get on a ballot, whether a party decides to represent you or not, in order to get on the ballot, that for people to vote for you without being a write-in candidate, you have to get a certain amount of signatures. And for Arizona, it's something like 1% of the registered people of that party or independent in that in that legislative district or congressional district, whatever you're running for. So for me, I kind of round up. It's better safe than sorry. I tell people I need 1,000 signatures to even get on the ballot.
Yeah.
Right. And so if I don't get those signatures, say by, I think the deadline's April, but I want to get it by, by the end of the year. If I don't get it by April, then I won't even appear on the ballot. So I can't even be voted for unless people write me in, which no one wins right in.
Right. That's ridiculous.
So yeah, that's really, in my opinion, the first hurdle of all of them is you have to get on the ballot.
How hard is it to get 1,000 signatures? Because in Atlanta, we were doing petitions to make medical marijuana legal. It seemed like it was pretty easy because of what we were trying to do, right? And we kind of knew where to go to get it. But I never really thought of it from a personal point of view. Like, that is an issue point of view. But then getting someone to sign something for me, Doug, Joe Sargent, would be a whole lot different. How hard is that?
Yeah, it's much harder because they have to they end up wanting to trust you as a person before they're willing to sign your petition. And in reality, you can sign. I think for legislative district, you can sign 2 or 3 different state representative petitions. It's not just one person that you have to dedicate to. So, but that's the problem is when it's an issue, people automatically identify with the issue and they're like, well, if I agree with the issue, then yeah, of course.
Yep.
But when it comes to signing for someone in particular, it gets harder because they feel more like they have to be more reserved, or they can't just sign it because all they're doing is just giving me a chance. Mm-hmm. They're not even saying that they're going to vote for me. They could sign my petition and then not vote for me later. But I don't think a lot of people really realize that, and so they feel less inclined to sign it unless you explain that to them, which makes it harder.
I get that though, because if somebody says, "Hey, I'm running," me, especially in this climate, my antennas go up and say, "Let's have a conversation. Let me talk to you for a minute before I put my name on here," because we've been burnt so many times, and I mean, we've been burnt. And let's just talk about that. So, I haven't paid much attention in this year to where Arizona is going, because the national politics has just become absolute fire hose of horse shit, and I'm not sure where it is, but what is that Democratic Party, as much as you can without I'm not trying to destroy careers, but what's the parties looking like out there? What does it look like politically out there? What's her name? Sienna? What's the one Arizona who decided to thumbs down on actually helping people in the Senate? Who was she?
Oh God. Well, the only Arizona people that are in the Senate, I'm not sure about the state Senate. Because in the congressional Senate, there's 2 males, and it's but I'm not sure. I'm not sure who would be the.
She had the absolute worst taste in clothes. She started dressing crazy. She started as a progressive, and then voted with Joe Manchin on everything. Kirsten Sinema. That's what I was thinking.
I don't know if I've ever heard that name.
What? Okay, well, all right, so let's start here. Let's start here, because this is exactly what we mean by getting burned. And this is, you can give me a pinpoint view, a microscopic view of what the politics is like there. But let's just take a look at Kirsten Sinema and see if you remember this absolute debacle of a human being, exposed as a corporate fraud, 1 month ago. Kyrsten Sinema gives workers the finger. I just
So weird because this doesn't even come like she has not come up once in all of the meetings that I've been to or events that I've gone to. So this is new for me.
I think they have actively decided to not remember her. It's like when you have a traumatic experience and the mind blocks it out. This should be good. Let's just hear a joke.
Was the butt of a joke on Saturday Night Live for the second week in a row, with the show's Weekend Update anchors taking aim at Sinema for voting with Senate Republicans to block the changing of the filibuster.
Senate Republicans lined up to shake Kyrsten Sinema's hand after she voted against changing the filibuster to pass voting rights. The U.S. Senate, keeping black folks down with a quiet handshake since 1787.
Fire. Yeah. So that's the state of Arizona politics that I knew, which is why nationally, when I say we've been burnt before, that's all I know. Where is it microscopically? What's Arizona looking like?
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard because the legislative district that I'm in is legislative district 19, which I think 15 is like up in Phoenix or something like that. I'd have to look at the map. Not anywhere near me, but it's interesting because it's mostly rural Arizona, right? Like the biggest city is the city that I live in, which is Sierra Vista, and it's like a population of I couldn't even give you the exact population off the top of my head, but it's not what you would call a big city at all. There's like three major roads in Sierra Vista, and it's like what I would consider probably the biggest city in my district. There's a few cities kind of around that size. And that's like the majority of my population, right? And so it's very interesting because some areas are very blue leaning, like Douglas or Pima County or different places like that. And then other places are very red leaning, like Sierra Vista, where I live, which, well, it's more purplish, but on paper it looks more red. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting too, because a lot of people have like ingrained this idea of, oh, you always vote for the conservative, and so it's just become a way of life that people go, but they want all the programs that generally a Democrat would bring and not a conservative, right? Like healthcare or minimum wage that's actually livable or something like that. Like they want those things, but the word Democrat's bad or the word liberal's bad. Oh. So it's had this weird dichotomy of me, even though I'm a Democratic candidate, I really just kind of focus on the issues, right? So like, because that's where I'm kind of at right now, is that people just have the problem with the word, but they want the stuff, the policies that come with it. So that's kind of how, in a nutshell, how it's kind of been working down here is, people are struggling, but they're kind of like subjected to this mind virus stuff of what the national media says about the different parties.
So that's an interesting kind of direction to go. Mamdani is kind of doing the same thing. Now, he's obviously in a place that's super blue, but every single rich person and people behind the lever hate him because he's talking about being straight up socialist. Like, we don't need billionaires. They shouldn't be here. Not nationalizing, but having the government taking care of things like grocery stores instead of just giving you a stipend that they can take away. Maybe we can get rid of food deserts. Maybe we can have affordable busing, right? That's not run by private corporations masquerading as government entities. They hate it. They hate it. And socialism has been a word that the right has used and the left just fell right in line, as used as a demonic satanic word for so long that people still are weary. So he decided to just run on affordability. How about this? What if you could actually afford to fucking live here? Wouldn't that be awesome? And it worked, right? And it worked. So you're finding that same strategy. Instead of saying, hey, we're not talking about Democrat, Republican, I'm talking about affordability. What are these? What are if you have any of those buzzwords? Do they exist? What are those key issues?
Yeah, so for Arizona, especially in my area, the biggest buzzwords are water. Water's a big one. We live in the desert. We've had water issues for years, and so Arizona water is a huge problem. That's kind of a buzzword. We've seen some cropping up of like aluminum plants in different areas, and so that's a little bit of a buzzword, but it's a little bit less. Um, the hospitals, that's the other big one. The hospitals and the healthcare is the other probably really big buzzword, is because we're looking at hospitals potentially closing. Starting, November 1st, people lost SNAP benefits across the country, I believe. I know for sure in Arizona.
Yeah, all over the
People
country.
Yeah, people lost SNAP benefits. So those are probably the biggest ones, is water and hospital healthcare. But on the smaller end, we have like the smaller issues like the aluminum plant in Benson, or the other different smaller issues around the district. But those two are probably the biggest ones that people always have an opinion about.
Let's talk about that, because I don't know much about that. What is the water issue there? And then we're going to get to healthcare, because that's a whole nother thing.
I mean, the water issue is it's been going on for a long time, and part of the issue is that we've had representatives who have been there literally decades. They'll go from the Senate to the state representative, to the Senate, back to the state representative, and they'll just do this bouncing thing, because we have term limits on those individual seats, but not term limits on, if you take a break, can you come back to the seat, right?
Oh, wow.
So they just bounce back and forth. And so we've had the same people putting in these legislative, I just lost the word, bills. There we go. Legislative bills that eventually just kind of pile up and work against the working class and kind of just help out the corporations. And so water has been that issue. So most, not, I don't know if I want to say most, but a lot of people in LD19 run off of well water, right? And so it can get complicated, because because it depends if the well is, if it's able to be refilled, or if it's once the water's gone, it's gone. And so you'll have times where people will run out of water, or people overuse water for different programs. It's less of a problem in my area, but up in Tucson, they have like the alfalfa, growing alfalfa, and that can take a lot of water. And so in the desert, the reason it's a problem is because we live in the desert, right? We only have as much water. I mean, granted, there used to be a lot of water here, but not anymore.
See, I don't even know. I don't even have a frame of reference. Like when you say run out of water, my mind, it shuts down. Like, the fuck you mean run out of water? I have to remind myself, yeah, it's a desert. That I don't know. How do they refill water in the desert? But so you're telling me that there's a time that people could not take a shower? Like there's no water?
Hopefully it doesn't get to that, but yeah, I mean that can happen. Especially when you're running on well water. If it's, say we have a drought or it doesn't rain for a while, and maybe you share the well with, I don't know, 6, 7 other people because it's a community well, and for whatever reason the water didn't refill and now there's no water. I mean, that that could happen. I'm sure it's happened to some people already who live here. It yeah, it can happen for
So,
sure.
so what is the biggest problem with when you say water is a buzzword? Like, what are people dealing with at the moment? Is it kind of like your water restrictions? Is it go, you tell me.
No, so it's not that there's water restrictions. As far as I know, there's not really much restrictions in terms of how much water you can or can't use. The problem is that in some places, corporations will use the water for corporate use as opposed to it being strictly personal use. Um, in fact, in Benson, we see that problem as they're building an aluminum plant, and they're worried that that's going to drain the San Pedro River, which is a protected river, but it's
Yeah.
not protected in that area. It's only protected in a certain patch of land that's not there. So
Wow.
like, they're
So,
worried about the protected river going dry. They're worried about, using that water, or I forget the word for it, but it's an aquifer that doesn't refill itself.
mm,
I forgot the name of it, but they're worried about that going dry, because once that goes dry, since it doesn't refill, it's gone. When it's gone, it's gone. So those are kind of the issues that people are looking at right now.
wow. And yeah, I can imagine that living in a desert, that thing is always front of mind. The corporations coming in talking about using water, everybody's antennas goes up like, what? How much? What do you mean? Okay.
It does. But they've been able to get away with it forever. And it's only become an issue now, but it's already been too late. Like we've been in a water crisis for, decades. But now it's like it's getting to the point where even bigger crisis, let's put it that
Yeah.
way.
And then you say protected river, which to me is absolutely nonsense if there's a part of it that's not protected because it's one river. So if you take all the part, you can't take all the part of a river. It's going to flow to the protected part at some point, right? Or it's not going to get there. So that's ridiculous. But protected, I'm assuming, is it, and it's Arizona, is native population in your district at all?
Yeah, there's less of a native population. I mean, it's Cochise County. It's named after literally a tribe, like the leader of a tribe. I mean, Cochise, right? So there is definitely a native population. I don't I don't know, from what I've lived here for a while. From what I've seen, it's less of a native population in here specifically than there is in other districts, but there certainly is a prominent native population here.
Any reservations?
Yeah, there is. I'm not so much in Cochise County directly, but in some of the other neighboring counties that are still part of LD19. There is, yeah.
Okay, so what's your position then on? And I mean, I can guess what it is, but I'd like you to elaborate. The idea of the way that we're treating native land, the way that we're treating all land, the earth. When you say protected rivers, like in California, they were trying their hardest. Corporations were to get rid of places that were supposed to be protected for fishing, right, or for hunting, or for things that Native people have once again been fighting for the 400 years, to keep their own, and corporations have been dumping. I would even bet that if there's an aluminum mine going up, there's more than likely a reservation close by, because they seem to only love to mine and destroy wherever those reservations are. What's your position on that? What do you know about that? What would you like to see done about that if you were in office?
Yeah, so Yeah, there's been a couple problems already when it comes to them kind of destroying either re native religious sites or native sacred sites, or destroying like national, or not national, like more like wildlife areas. Like, for example, the San Pedro River needs to be protected. Um, there's been some problems like that in the past, and for the most part, I'd say that they've Arizona's done a pretty good job at like not destroying all of those.
Oh, really?
But it is a problem, right? It is a problem because even in this last congressional race, not in LD19 anymore, but in another part of the state, there was talk about mining and destroying some of those sacred areas that the native culture uses or respects, right? So it certainly is a problem. I'd say it's an ongoing issue pretty regularly. But I don't. My stance on it is, I don't want to see those places destroyed. Like, we only have one Earth, right? And once these places are destroyed, like, you can't just bring them back, you
Right.
know. And I don't want to destroy them for some company's greed or something. Like, no, they can go somewhere else. There's plenty of places for them to go. They don't need to go there.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just my stance. The problem with that though is that you'll have places like Safford, for example, or I forget the name of the city, but it's north of Safford. It's like towards the northern end of my district. Um, they rely on the mine in order to live, right?
Mhm.
And so that's the other problem that you have to realize with some of these rural areas is if their only income is, say, working the mine or the revenue that comes from the mine, then it makes it very difficult to be like, no, we need to shut down the mine, because then that town dies, right? So that is also a problem because you have to manage that, right? You can't, if you shut down that thing for, say, environmental purposes, but then the entire town dies because people can't live there anymore. Well, then that's also not good, right? So
Mhm.
you have to be able to balance what is actually necessary for the population to survive there and what is just corporate greed, or what is, or what needs to be preserved because of whatever reason, be it sacred or environmental or whatever.
So what about
So
that idea of, I mean, because coal mines are going through the same thing. It's just you're not going to be able to keep it whether you want it or not. And so the I remember Bernie, I remember Obama, Biden. Everybody's had the idea of re-educating and retooling these places. So instead of just taking away the mine, um, it's about infusing other industry into that place, right? That's something you think is a feasible option to say. Well, I mean, because we don't know that mine needs to be taken away or it's on a sacred land. But if that was the case, is that viable for you? Do you think, instead of just shutting it down, the way that could be presented is, we could help you learn a new industry. We can bring a new industry to your town, to your city, and have maybe even more money, maybe even a better, a future in a different industry that could make more money. You could draw more industry to your town in a new industry that's not finite like mining.
yeah, I'll explain it this way. We went through the same as a country. We went through the same revolution when the tech industry started to boom, right? At one point we all didn't have cell phones. At one point we all didn't have internet, and at some point we had to adjust to that, right? It's I feel like this is the same thing. We have to adjust to it, and there has to be effort put into rebuilding that if you're going to take something away, you have to have an alternative for them to back up, for them to take instead of that thing. And part of that comes with, unfortunately, it takes time, right? You have to have time to be able to go in and actually do that. It's, and it takes the effort, and it also takes funding and the willingness to go in and retool, as you put it, these people who are already used to one way, retool them to be able to do something else. And oftentimes that comes in the form of benefits. Like, for example, right now we need more. I see this a lot in cybersecurity.
The devil's word is benefits and socialism. Go ahead.
But I see this a lot when it comes to like the cybersecurity, right? They want more cybersecurity people or people trained in cybersecurity, right? So what do? Well, then they give them incentives. So like they'll there's programs like the state programs, even Arizona state programs, where they'll pay for your cybersecurity, degree, with the intention of you'll have a cybersecurity job at the end. And so like if you want to change that over, you have to offer certain incentives, maybe not the exact same thing, but similar to that, to give people a reason and the means to be able to go from one thing to the other, and then you can get rid of the thing.
Yeah.
And so it needs to be a metered kind of approach in order for that to happen.
That also means there has to be a willingness to go through that, and the Republicans right now have turned into genuflecting concubines for insurrection. I don't understand. I don't know how. I guess I'm not even going to go there today. But I'm going to continue to talk about what you can do instead of what these people have done. But let's go to healthcare. That, thanks to the Only Billionaires Benefits bill, I'm sure, like everywhere else in America, we're looking at a loss of at least one, rural hospital in either your district or one close to you. Because you can't, they all can't exist if Medicare is cut the way that it is right now, right? What's the fallout so far? What has taken place with the insurance, with any of the hospitals? Like my wife was laid off because she works for Emory, and not even like in the hospital, but just, shit rolls downhill. So what's been the fallout so far from the passing of this bill? What changes have been made? How are you proposing to help with that now that you're going to be running for a much more hands-on local position?
Yeah, I haven't been able to go go back to the hospitals to see I heard of what the effect was going to do, but because it hasn't been, because it's still a year until it takes effect, I haven't heard of any major fallout yet. I'm sure that there has been layoffs and firings though. But luckily one of the bigger hospitals, Chiricahua, which is in the area, they're still surviving. In fact, I helped them with their fundraiser benefit. I did a theater show for them to help them with their fundraiser benefit. But they seem to be surviving, at least right now. But I think the future fallout will be far worse.
Yeah.
But I think because we're still at over a year until it takes effect, we haven't started to see the major fallout points yet. Now that SNAP is taken away, we're probably going to start seeing some of that.
Yeah.
But as of yet, that hasn't quite. I don't think it's hit us quite yet. I anticipate it will, though, very soon. To be honest.
You had some ideas earlier about insurance and how to kind of mitigate the issues that we know are coming, that we do see coming. unless something changes in the legislature between now and 2026, which is hard to believe it will. But can you talk about any of those?
Yeah. And I do want to talk about it because like I haven't moved completely forward with it yet because I'm still working on the back end of trying to get alliances for it too. But basically, the solution that I have is mutual aid. It's the only way that we can really shoulder. As I have some friends who put it, because they're very military oriented, it's the only way to stop, to tourniquet the bleeding is mutual aid. I feel like is the only real solution because we can't depend on the government to stop it or to save it. They are the problem, right? They're the ones causing the bleeding, right? So we can't really depend on them to solve the issue. So we have to look to our left and to our right and try and help each other when it comes to that. Luckily, there's other people, Adelita Grajava, who just won for CD7 in Arizona and should have been already put into the
We're
House
gonna
of
get to that
Representatives.
too. Yeah, my God.
She said a very similar thing. We talk occasionally, and she said a very similar thing when I went to her event right before she got confirmed. That she wanted to look into that as well. And so this might be a much bigger thing that maybe I end up partnering with the whole state to try and do like what I envisioned in the first place, a statewide kind of mutual aid benefit. And so I think that it's gonna blow up here soon. I have still some meetings to have with some of the hospitals to see how they want to handle that. But I think it's going to end up being a partnership that requires a mutual aid of programs that help people maintain or obtain healthcare when it inevitably is taken away in a year. So
how would it work? Explain it a little bit for the people, because I know we've talked about it before. So I know where it's going, but to someone who's never heard it before, what would that look like?
yeah. So how I envision it is it's not an insurance like the mutual aid I envision. It's not insurance. It's not something that needs to be negotiated with hospitals. It's basically almost a nonprofit where you have medical bills. Maybe you don't have officially healthcare because maybe whatever, like, it's taken away and you can't get insurance. So maybe you don't have healthcare, but what you do have is this mutual aid organization that can basically give you the money to be able to get the healthcare that you need and basically pay out of pocket. They would give you the money and you just go and you'd pay for it. A program like that in order to help you survive. And the reason that I want to do it that way is you don't have to worry about the red tape with insurance companies. You don't have to worry about you don't have to negotiate pricing with the hospital or different organizations. It's basically just a program that says you need this healthcare or this operation or this medication. Here's the funds to be able to go do that so that you can live, is basically what it is.
It is the original purpose of an insurance, right? Of people, donation-based insurance, which has turned into how much can I steal from you and destroy your life to make me richer, whereas it was supposed to be you give me money so that it'll be here for you when you need it. And without a profit motivation, I believe it can be that way again. This is why I love that idea. I think that a model like that should destroy insurance companies everywhere. It just should, because that's how Social Security works. That's how the bank is supposed to work. Like, it's not saying that people shouldn't get paid who work in this, because if it gets bigger and bigger, somebody needs to pay for the paper and the check, right? and the pens and the phone line and the individuals who work there who also have to live. But it shouldn't be profit motivated. It should be help motivated, nonprofit organization. I love the idea. I told you before, I'm in it in any way possible that I can be to help with something like that. And I hope that idea spreads. What do you think about MAGA Moses Grinder Mike Johnson holding out on swearing in an elected Congress member just so he can protect pedophiles? That's how I'm framing it. If you think it's different, you let me know.
No, that's exactly. I mean, that is what it is. He's protecting a known pedophile. That's who Donald Trump is. He is a known pedophile. I don't care how MAGA wants to spin it. They're protecting pedophiles. I mean, I'm not really surprised, and I shouldn't even be saying that sentence. Like I should be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm just not though. Like I'm not old, but I'm old enough to know to be able to have seen this all happen and to see like how we got here. So it's just not surprising to me. It's why I'm in politics. So because I'm tired of it, right? So like none of this surprises me. You know, it's these false Christian people who want to go and claim whatever they want, but they're just hypocrites at the end of the day. I mean, that's what MAGA is. That's what Mike Johnson is. And that's what anybody who falls in line with them. They're just hypocrites and they don't care. And it's just what it is. Sometimes you got to call a spade, and that's what it is.
Absolutely disgusting, man. I don't know what we're going to do about that, because when I found out, because I'm doing my research, I'm like, how can we change this? Is this legal? And I look and I realize that it actually is. There's no time limit. There's no rule that says when you have to swear someone in after being elected. I think that this moment, despite its obvious, disgust, that we see, it is doing one thing, and that's showing us the immense amount of blind spots and just not things that we ever thought about, that we just took for granted and trusted would always be there. Not having a time that you have to sign somebody in after getting elected is absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. Because in a worst case scenario, at what point could you just not sign anybody in if you didn't want to and not get it? I mean, because there's no law. Yeah,
it's weird because, on one end, like they never anticipated this would be a problem, so they didn't like pre-plan for it. And on the other end, it's people finding loopholes. And so it's just, it's one of those things where it's like you can't plan for everything, but at the same point, like it just shows the depravity and the evilness. Yeah. Because they're using a loophole that is obviously not intended to be used that way, but they're doing it to weasel their way into an agenda that they want, as opposed to an agenda that the people want or that the people need.
Put it this way. They're using loopholes that even slaveholders thought nobody would be mean enough to do. Right? This is where we are. Like, no president is going to actually do this. No, if the Speaker of the House wouldn't. We're not even going to think about that, because we're all here to serve at some point, right? They're literally finding things to use that weren't written, because even people who held slaves and did bad things all day long never thought that they would have to think about somebody being this bad. And there they go. Yeah. So much for that. Speaking of wannabe fake ass Christians, JD Vance and what's her name? Mrs. Kirk. You know they fucking, right?
Oh, are they? Yeah. No, I'll be honest. Ever since the Charlie, I'm not even gonna. Ever since the Charlie Kirk stuff, I've just been like, I don't care. I don't care. You can slap his face on everywhere and call him a martyr all you want. I just don't care. Yeah. So I haven't been following it, if I'm being honest.
All right. So I'm joking. But so you have no response for that. I'll take that. I wasn't expecting one anyway, but I always like to throw a couple in there.
No, that's fair. I don't mind having responses. I could care less if they are or not. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
But what about poor Usha though? I mean, JD Vance's wife.
Poor Usha. How about poor Usha when they got married in the first place? She's been poor Usha for how many years now? So.
And this is true. I just wish that he'd own his cross-dressing past. Instead of internalizing that hate on himself, he should just be free. We would not be where we are if he was just allowed to be free in his own skin. And he doesn't like women. That's okay, bro. Like, come on our side. Like, we won't shame you for that. Neither does Peter Thiel. I don't know why he's on your side. Anyway, this is my rant. These are not the words of Aiden Swallow. So go vote for her. Once again, thank you. And I love that background, man. You say you painted that yourself?
Yeah. This is years ago. Speaking of being yourself, back when, after I came out of a really, really violent ex-marriage like a few years ago, and I told myself that I was going to like repurpose my living space, and this was part of it. And so this has been there for years because I don't like the white walls. I think white walls are dumb. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. And I have a fireplace that I don't use. And so it became a rainbow, and it
looks awesome. I would love to just live in a space like that. I don't know why you have to demonize white walls. Why I gotta be dumb? Boring.
Well, because it's just normal. Like it's just like, oh, it's just a plain wall. Is my point? Not that it's white, but
Are you saying white walls are unseasoned and full of mayonnaise? Is this what you're saying?
Not the words I would use.
Oh, I love it. I love you, my friend. This is awesome. I'm glad we got to reconnect. I'm glad we got to do this. Anything that you would like to say? Anything you got going on that I didn't know? I did not do my normal research for this. I just wanted to speak to an old friend, or a new friend, actually. But it's just been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. No, nothing too bad. Today's election night, so I'm going to be in Tucson for most of the night following this interview. I have some other appointments. I have to go to a medical appointment here in like 5 minutes. But no, nothing other than like just everything. Just stuff's happening all the time. I just finished a theater show. I'm in another theater show coming up in like a month and a half. So, just doing stuff constantly. And I'd say the biggest thing though is if you live in Arizona, sign my petition. Go to my website, aswallowforaz.com, and sign my petition because I need 1,000 signatures before hopefully the next year. So
let's do that, guys. Let's do that. If you live in Arizona, go to AidenSwallow.com aswallowforaz.com. aswallowforaz.com. And we're spelling out 4 or the number 4. I'll put it. Send it. FOR. I'm going to put it. It's going to be down there. If you live in Arizona, I know I have a few people out there on the West Coast. I have a lot of people that seem to be in California and in Washington area. So I know there's some of you out there on the West Coast. If you guys live in Arizona, go sign this petition. We need this woman in Congress and your state Congress for obvious reasons, mainly because she's not going to keep the walls white there. If you catch my drift. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And send me the bills, your play bills, so that I can put them up somewhere. People will see it here and maybe go watch you act. Do you sing too? Are you dancing and singing too?
I do. I just finished a musical where I tap danced and sang, and I'm in a play next, Miracle on 34th Street. So that's the play I'm in next. So
come on. Yeah. Send them. Send me pictures, PDFs. All right. Have a good one. And thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey. Yeah, you. Before you click away to watch someone unbox a tactical toothbrush, let's talk about something real. Political Drain isn't just another content mill. We're a digital front in a very real war. Not with bullets, but with ideas, with action, and with solidarity. We pair urgent news with critical education. And we build community around actual resistance, not the hashtag kind. The kind that moves. But here's the thing. None of this is free. It isn't. Behind every video is time, labor, research, and some weird guy asking if we're going to pay the hosting bill. And yeah, some of that money goes to things we can't necessarily say out loud. If you know, you know. Let's just say our special ops aren't Call of Duty LARPers. They're people making real moves to protect, uplift, and organize. You're not just funding a channel. You're funding a resistance network in a world where capital still calls the shots. Unfortunately, in a system built on artificial scarcity, even mutual aid has a price tag. And if we want to grow, if we want to win, we need your help. We need your help. So if you've got even a few bucks to spare, toss it our way. It's not for ads. It's not for merch drops, but for people making moves in the shadows so others can do it in the light. It's just us and you. So fund the mission, fund the fight, fund the future, because nobody's coming to save us. We save each other. That's how this works. Follow us on all these things you see here, and our link tree is in the description. Maybe even get some merch.